G'day YouTube, Turbo Tristan here. In today's video, I'll be finishing off my part of the restoration process of the E30 BMW build. Then it's on to my second part, which is making it go hard, which is what we're here for and what we love. Hopefully you guys are jumping on board with the E30 project. Yes, I know it's not a Honda Civic. I've seen the video views drop, but please jump on board. We'll be back onto Civic stuff as soon as we get this done. This is a special build for a special friend of mine who owns Spool Up HQ. So we need to do him a solid, treat this like my own car and put my best efforts and hardest work into making this thing last for another 30 or 40 years. He said he wants to keep this car forever. So we are making it work and we're making it last forever. So full ground up restoration. It's getting a full respray. This time we're doing inside the engine bay and underneath the car. In today's video, we'll be raptor lining the underside of the car, finally fitting up for the last time the rear cradle with the R200 Skyline diff in it, painting the engine bay, shaving and smoothing the engine bay, and getting ready to accept the engine that's underneath that cloth and that sheet there. Now it's on to painting the bay. I've done everything else. The video was supposed to be out on Sunday morning for you, but I did actually run out of paint. So I'm gonna sand that back again because the new paint's not gonna stick to the old paint. So I'll give that a quick scuff with some 600 grit sandpaper, clean it all up, wax and grease remover it, prep wash it, all that sort of stuff, which is pretty much the same thing, and then hit it with the nice coat of Brilliant Rot, which is the red for Brilliant Red in German. We're gonna get that sorted and then clear coated, and then that will wrap up today's video. So stick around, I'll show you where we got to, show you all the action and adventure. I was pretty upset over the weekend, which is why I didn't put the video out. I wanted to wait until everything was completed. So stick around, I'll show you where we got to. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Welcome back to the channel again. As you can see, this hat has copped a flogging. It's covered in dirt and soot and muck and grime and everything. And I'm wearing my scummy clothes that I don't mind ruining because we're still cleaning. When you restore a car, and one thing that they don't show you a lot on YouTube is dismantling and the teardown process of restoring a car that's 20, 30 or 40 years old. This case, it's 32 going on 33 years old, is the amount of dirt, smut, rust, just gross spiders, everything that fall in your face. As you'll notice in my last video, I was pretty tired. So I'm on holidays from my day job and I'm working in the shed, which means I stay up late, I sleep in, and I come out in the shed and do work in my own time. So I'm up till midnight, 1 o'clock most nights working on the car and out in the shed by lunchtime the next day and just doing 12 hours a day on it. But the main thing is I'm just worn out from standing, reaching up, all that sort of stuff, and getting caked in mud, water, dirt, spiders, eggs, all kinds of chemicals and stuff. And yeah, it's not really fun. I've taken out the wiring loom, which meant jumping under the dash and removing the computer. There's the old Bosch ECU there. I've removed the brake booster. Now, if we look in the boot, you'll see there is an awesome subwoofer sound system, 2 8-inch subs, amp, everything's all built in. And I need to get in the back here under the carpet to remove the struts. So I can raptor line everything, and yeah, I can take out this whole piece of carpet, but it's actually all the way down further in here that I need to get to do the suspension. So I'm gonna have to probably take out the back seats and come in from the other way because I don't see any way that I can remove this. If I pull on it, it doesn't want to move. It's bolted down above the carpet, so that doesn't come off. So yeah, it's just not fun. I also learnt from Lawrence as well, from Brintech, that there is a spot here built into the E30 that allows you to chuck the battery in there, which is pretty awesome. So that's always an option, but again, we don't need to do that, but we might do it, who knows. Awesome, fog in the GoPro lens, that always helps. So the car is in all sorts of bits and pieces at the moment. I've already been working for probably 2 or 3 hours already before I picked up the camera and decided to do the intro. Coffee time, then I'll jump in there and I've got to grind away some of these tabs like this. This has got to come out. Any of the other little ones I'll leave in there because these are all used for different things, and smooth out over there for the battery tray. So bit of work. I'll come back to you once something exciting is ready to be filmed. Well, I've wrapped the car up and I've just gone over everywhere where I don't want any raptor liner to go. All those much needed bolts and threads are all covered up, and the tabs for the rear cradle and the pins there, they're all done. Still haven't been bothered to remove these shocks yet because I don't feel like crawling around in the boot of the car. What we've done is mixed up the raptor liner. So it's 2 parts hardener, and then you've got the 1 litre bottle, and they even provide you with this really cool cup that says the exact milliliters, which is 237, which is a random number. And I've got the U-pole gun. Now all of this stuff can be purchased from your local paint store. I got mine from Complete Auto Paints in Springvale, where I get all my paints from. So I'm gonna stick this probably on a time lapse and make a mess. Hopefully, because it's nice and thick and gluggy, it won't spread too far around the shop. The floor's seen better days, but I really don't want raptor liner all over the floor, so I'll be very, very careful and try and get it done. Definitely say I am now a raptor liner installing expert. This kit from U-Pole or Raptor, the guys at Raptor hooked me up with this kit, 4 litres with the hardener and the schutzing gun. Turned out awesome. Check this out. Now it's still got to dry and sort of shrink down and harden. It's been done almost an hour ago, so it's barely dry to the touch, but all of the guards are all done. I went over the fuel tank like I mentioned I would. So I've now fully restored everything inside the inner guards. And once that dries, it's going to look amazing. Be great for sound deadening, no stone noises flicking up or rain under the car. So it's going to be nice and quiet. Doesn't weigh much, not much heavier than paint. So better than sound deadening. And yeah, just turned out awesome. Had the owner of the car come around. He was actually the one filming me paint it, so thanks a bunch, that was awesome. But check that out, just like a brand new car, and I cannot wait until that hardens fully. But that's it for tonight. Tomorrow morning I'm gonna install fully the rear subframe for the last time, get that bolted in, handbrake cables, brake lines, brake calipers, I think, if I've got the right brackets to put those calipers on. And the rear end's pretty much done, so we'll do more on that tomorrow. So see you in a second. We are now on day 5 of the E30 build, and it's the next day, and the Raptor liner has dried rock solid. So everything is looking brand new, refreshed and refurbished. And as I mentioned, I went straight over all the fuel lines and all that sort of stuff, so we are protected there. It's time to put the diff back in. Now this is the rear end, which is supplied by Brintech, and it's got the R200 Skyline / Silvia diff. Now there's a few reasons why we have this diff going in the car and not the original one. If you remember, there was one very flimsy thin tab which I cut off here, where there was one ear down onto the diff, the factory diff, and that was the only other point to secure it to the car besides the shocks and those front pins there. So I was only really triangulated by 3 places and some shock absorbers. If we put a bunch of power and torque into this car, which we're going to with the M54 engine over there, the potential to rip this off and damage the floor increases a ton. Now we've got similar to a Skyline or a Supra or any modern car's rear end with the 4 mounting points, and that's mounted to a very, very solid part of the frame here. With a very solid piece of metal, which I have very roughly but solidly mounted to the car. And this is a really strong point. You've got the full frame rail, and then you've got a cross member there, and it's quite thick steel, so it's a really good place to do it. Brintech, having engineered that and designed all of this to suit, means that it's really, really strong and just the perfect balance and perfect fitment for the car. The other reason we've chosen this diff is we've got a stronger diff center with more gear ratio options, with more LSD options, different center options. It's more serviceable, readily available. There's more Skylines, 200 SXs, S13, S14, S15, R30, 2, 3 and 4 Skylines on the road with this diff that we can use for parts. Brintech have added a little Hall effect sensor here, which measures the speed of the wheels, which works with the ECU and the dash to give you the accurate speedo, and you could even set that up for traction control and all sorts of stuff if you wanted to. We've got all Super Pro polyurethane bushes all the way around, and I mentioned it in the last video, we've got these caster correction and toe correction bushes in there as well, so we've got some adjustment. Another thing that comes in the kit from Brintech are these ADR approved engineerable braided brake lines, which replace the crusty old crummy rubber ones that come in the car. The only thing that I have to do from the old subframe is take out the hard line which goes through here, which we will then use when we put the Willwood calipers on. Time to fix the engine bay and get it ready to accept its new heart. Now I've already gone ahead and rust treated underneath the battery tray. There was just a little bit of surface rust around just the corner, but I've rubbed it all back with the flapper disc. So it's back to metal, so that's why the primer's on there. There was a tab here which took the factory airbox. I've had to grind that off, and it was a bit nasty under there, so I've put some body filler on there. I'm going to smooth that out now. I'll probably put a little bit there and smooth that as well, just to make it really, really nice. It's not going to be a show car shaved, tucked engine bay. It's going to be a fully functioning, packed engine bay. There's going to be pretty much no room in there, but we want everything around the engine to still look nice. There's plenty of this sort of seam sealer around everything. Now, like I mentioned, it's not a show car, so I'm not going to get rid of any of that. And the other reason is, once I get rid of that, I don't know what's underneath there, so it's just opens up a can of worms. So in some spots I've tidied it up and made it more uniform, so you know, it's not seam sealer spread out everywhere. It's just sort of kept in the space where it needs to be. So I've done a little bit of tidying up of some of the seam sealer, like just down there. It was a big blob there, and there was a blob here. So I've just tidied it up, but heaps and heaps of hours worth of sanding and smoothing this now. So I'll come back and show you what it looks like just before I put some primer on there. So after about 8 hours worth of sanding and scrubbing and cleaning, we are ready to lay down the first coat of primer. What I've done is I've changed my mind. I've gone and done underneath there and behind these little bits which are all masked off. I've done them in Raptor black as well, because you're never going to see that. The engine that's going in here is so massive, it's going to take up almost all of this space. Plus we've got aircon and radiators and everything going in there. So really you're just going to see here and there. So I've smoothed everything out, and I've even shaved back a lot of the seam sealer. Obviously I didn't take any of it away, we still need it, but I've just got it off the edges where it doesn't need to be. So that's all good to go. So this is your before, during, after. So it's officially the end of day 7. I'm gonna go and edit a video now, but the engine bay has just been all painted. What I like to do, and it's probably not the greatest thing to do, but I find it just helps, is as soon as I'm finished painting, I carefully rip off all of the tape and everything. It sort of stops it from peeling up layers of paint, in my opinion. I don't know if it's right or wrong, I'm not a painter. Here we have everything is finished off with a couple of coats of clear. Now this is 2K clear, so this is going to go really, really hard. I'll bring the light over. Check it out. Super bright, super glossy. And you can see here is the original paint, and then the super bright red, or brilliant rot, which is the color. So you can see here the original clear's been buffed through, and so has the original red, back to sort of a burnished orange undercoat. And then that's what it's supposed to look like when it's all fresh and new. So that's it for the restoration. So the boring stuff for you guys at home is now completed. After today, once this dries, it's gonna harden and dry overnight. And I'm not gonna be putting anything back together in the engine bay just yet, because it's still gonna take a couple of days to really go rock solid. But I'm gonna begin to dress the engine, put the clutch, gearbox, flywheel, everything together. It's got a Lighten flywheel, which has got to go on there, which is brand new, supplied by Brintech. I'm going to start assembling the running gear. I'm just waiting for some gussets to arrive so I can reinforce the front subframe or cross member. And then once that's done, I'm going to refurbish that. I'll probably just do that off camera and just show you what it looks like afterwards. Give that a paint with some nice hard wearing black enamel. And then it's ready to shove back in the car, give everything a good clean down. One thing that's a little bit disappointing is, although the engine bay is now perfect in my eyes, and I'm really, really proud of the job I've done, this corner here, I couldn't get the fuse box out, and it's probably gonna look a little bit crusty just behind there, but I did my very, very best to get in there. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out once I get that out. I'm not going to pull that off now because that's going to ruin the paint. But that's it for the restoration, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you like glossy, shiny, OEM style engine bays. I'll see you in the next video when we dress the engine. Oh, spool up, of course. See ya.